Hello and welcome to 4,000 and counting. I'm Watty and we are brought to you by our very good friends at Hurricane E-Bikes. Today I am joined by Phantoms head coach, Phantoms 2 that is, Nathan Pollard. I like the fact that he's rocking the Phantoms. I was expecting maybe to see the winner's hat. Like, I thought maybe you dust out the
I'm
cup
not sure
winner's
what
hat
that
for the
is.
boys. Yeah, I bet nobody else does either.
No.
Mate, welcome aboard anyway, and congratulations on the new gig. How you feeling?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, really, really excited for it. I think dipping into the coaching element of stuff is going to be really exciting. I think, but obviously played a long time, and kind of want to vary it a little bit, and it felt like the right time to do that.
So obviously your career with the Phantoms came to an end. I think the press release came out maybe May time, I think. April, May. Is this something that you knew was coming, or did you in the off season talk to Slava and discuss roles and what would be done? And if so, like how those conversations go?
I think I didn't see it coming originally, and then the league rules got announced, right, where you could only have a
All you
certain amount
old
of
guys are
players over
fucked. Yeah.
25. Yeah,
Yeah.
which I think 30 is about right. But I think 25 for me personally, I think is young. And I think
Especially
it's
if you
going to
only
push.
bust into the league when you're 22,
Yeah,
23.
yeah,
Like,
exactly. And like guys haven't hit their prime, and I think it's really difficult to put it at 25. I think it's going to force quite a lot of players out, which probably isn't ideal. Fair enough if they say 30 and over or 28, 29, whatever. But I think 25 is young. But that's just my view on it. I guess we're going to see how it goes. But I think
I
it's
know you're
quite,
newly 30. You're just
yeah,
turned 30. I'm I'm now I'm now 37. I think my 30th year in terms of my lifts, my strength, my physique, my mentality, it was probably my best year on this planet.
yeah,
For some fucking prick in a suit to tell me at 25 I'm too old, when in fact at 30 I felt like I could run through a brick wall. How's that too old? We see Russ Cowley right now in the national box. You telling me he's too old? Lidzi,
yeah,
you watch Lidzi compete every night. You watch how many pucks he eats. He doesn't take a shift off. He's in his 40s. What is he too old? How's he too?
yeah.
How's he too old? He's not too old. He can still do a job. The minute you can't do a job, then you're too old.
I think it's if you're good enough, you're old enough, right? That's how it always should be. And I think what they're doing now is they're going to be forcing guys that are 17, 18, 19 into the league that aren't ready. And because they're not ready and the standard of the league's gone up, they're not going to play enough. And that's just going to be a detriment to their ice time and their career. So, yeah, I don't know how it's going to pan out. Obviously, I hope it goes well because I care about the future of UK hockey and the young guys that are coming through. But I'm not sure it's been entirely thought through yet. Anyway,
Could it have an adverse effect in terms of, so let's say guys like yourself step down and your brother and you boys start playing at that NIHL2 level. So you're going to play top minutes. The certain 16, 17-year-olds that are good enough will go to the Phantoms, but won't get on the ice. And then the next 15, 16, 17-year-old lads are going to come up to NIHL2, but are now not going to get to play because, well, they will, but not as much or
yeah,
in as crucial situations. Because why would you have you sitting on the bench and not on a power play when you're on the roster? Like, you got to win as well, and there's
yeah.
development, but you want to win hockey games. So does it have like an adverse effect? Because some of the better older guys who are still well young enough to play are going to go, do you know what? I'm actually going to focus on business, but I can still turn out for my local team and still put a performance in. I'm still a good hockey player. Where do you kind of sit on it? Because it's bizarre timing and it's a bizarre age for me. 25. It's not right.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're spot on. I think the challenge is probably NIHL2, maybe a little bit less, but you go to NIHL1 and your Chelmsfords and stuff where you got guys like Ben Russell, Barnes Garner, and those guys that have gone there, and Lackey and people like that who are
Yeah.
still good enough for the national, but been forced down. And Chelmsford have got crowds, they've got sponsors, they've got loyal
Yeah.
fans that they need to win trophies in front of, and you can't just be developing your young guys because that might be great for a coach to do that, it's not fun for the fans, and no one's going to come back if you're losing every week. So I
No.
think the ricochet effect of top guys going down in each league is again going to have an impact on those younger players because they're probably not going to be ready to play national at that time.
No. And that's it. Unless there's going to be one or two. Nathan, every year since we were kids, there's been one or two guys, three or four, that can, out of 10 teams, 12 teams, however many teams are in the league, to ideally say that every team now needs to have them. Where are they coming from? Look at our junior results for Great Britain, 18s and 20s for the last however many years you want to think. Unacceptable. Not good enough. Performances, not good enough. Tournaments we should be winning, not getting out of division. Dropping points against weak nations. We're not bringing up the best talent. So if they're not ready to beat fucking Benidorm in Division 2C, what makes you think they're ready to take the step up and play against seasoned vets? And now with the import rise, guys that have been playing U Sports last year, CIS Sport, NCAA, Coast, there's guys coming from legitimate professional leagues. We need to be developing these boys better so they're ready and not rushing them either.
Yeah, and I think it's one where I don't know the answers, and I don't think we all know the complete answers. But I think the issue with probably how it's been sprung out is no ex-players have contributed to what they think the rules should be or how they think it should be done. It's just been done by people who haven't played or have got that experience in there. And now it's like, cool, right, try that, see if it works. When actually, I mean, if you had a panel of ex-players or some representation from that, then they might be able to come up with a good reasoning for it and maybe a different way about doing it.
Also, this seems like a decision that wouldn't be made lightly if I was in charge. I would want to go to Sport England, the Institute of Sport. What does the science say? What does the science say? When do these guys finish developing?
Mm-hmm.
When are they reaching their peak? How long are they staying in their peak? When does the drop-off come? And how rapidly does the drop-off come? Scientifically, not just because you decided fucking 25 was a good number. Like, the real science. Not just make these decisions based on what are they based on. I don't know what they're based on. Because the problem is, if we had good junior development, i.e. Sweden, Finland, Canada, America, the list goes on, which we don't. Fucking right, 25 is fine, because guess what? We've got 100 17-year-old kids coming in to knock the 100 18-year-old kids out next year, and there's 100 16-year-olds coming in on the back of that. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe.
Yeah.
So the 25 rule makes no sense in this country. We don't have the depth of young talent.
And like you said, we need to improve the GB Junior setup, and we need to do that. And I'm all for trying to figure out how we do that, because we've obviously been successful in the past. We've had some good players that have come through, but actually it's like, how do we make that better? I'm not sure these rules are actually going to help with it or whether they're actually going to hinder it.
Hopefully they help, but I don't know if they will. I really don't know if they will. I tell you what will help. I'm watching Danny Myers put his content out from the Ozone and all the kids they've got at the camps, the coaching they're getting and the skills they're learning and the way the game's changed and how they're teaching the game now. It's interesting. And if he can get his teeth into enough of those boys at that camp and at that rink, and we could get one guy's not going to do it on his own though. We need multiple facilities, ideally in a similar structure to Ozone, where you have ex-GB internationals. He's got 40 there. He's got Lockie there. He's got other guys there. And they're bringing in instruction from Canada, Sweden. They're bringing in systems that we're learning from everybody. And you can see it in the way the kids play and how talented some of these kids are coming through that setup down in Bracknell. I would be interested to see that on a wide scale thing where kids all over the entirety of GB get to do that. And also spend some of that fucking money. And for the kids that can't afford to go and rock up at Ozone camps, let's get some scholarships. Let's get something, because we can always identify talent, and money shouldn't be a hindrance on developing our game, because not everybody's going to be able to afford to send their kid from Bradford to Bracknell to go on an Ozone camp. Like, they're not going to be able to do that, or they're not going to be able to send their kid from Aberdeen to Ozone to go and do that. But there's options, and we saw the finances. The numbers came out; they were a joke. And to be fair, I've spoke to a couple of board members from the EIHA who are going to come on the podcast, so I'll give them their due. They're going to come on, and I'll treat him with respect. I'll treat him the same respect I'll treat any guest with. But we're going to get into some nitty gritty, and these are the questions I'm going to be asking, Nate. Like, what's as a player that's been affected by this rule change? Because ultimately, I don't think if that rule changes, you're probably still on the Phantoms next year. Like playing wise, like it wasn't like you didn't just get shit. You didn't just get like, oh well, you turned 30, you're shit now. It doesn't work like that. It don't work like that. But so for someone that's been affected by the rule change, what sort of questions would you ask if you had the opportunity to sit in front of EIHA board member?
I think it's more for like my teammates, for some of them that are 25, 26. It's like, where did that number come from? Like, where that's the first question. Is like, why did we land on 25? Where did that come from? If there's some formula of averages and stuff behind it, fair enough. But I guess I mean, we've just spoke about it at length. Like 25 is young. Guys haven't even reached their peak by then, and that's a key question. I think the other one is, what are they trying to achieve by doing this? Like, what is the end goal of this? Is it to improve the standard of a national league? Is it to improve the standard of the national teams? Is it to improve the junior development at GB 18s and 20s? And is it a test? Is it just a 1 year thing, how they figure it out? Or is it this is how we're going to do it going forwards?
Well, this is the other thing. So obviously, sorry guys and girls, I've still not made my Steel Dogs video. I will make my Steel Dogs video, I do promise. We had that shit show for a couple of weeks running in the back burner there, and then it got all over the internet, and it was going wild. But it seems that the general consensus is that 2024, 2025, there's going to be some sort of split in the leagues. NIHL will try to go under Ice Hockey UK banner as well. So then we would end up with basically NIHL 2, NIHL 1, and the juniors all running under the EIHA, the Elite League and the National League running between running by the Ice Hockey UK. So where does that leave then those conversations we were just having, that they're making these decisions now? They're making these decisions whilst under the EIHA banner. If they then next year are under the Ice Hockey UK banner, do they just turn around and go, fuck that, that's all done, doesn't matter, we're nothing to do with the IHA now, it doesn't matter to us, we don't care about the juniors, fuck the juniors, not our problem, we are now an independent professional league, we don't care. They then turn into a results business again. And guess what? If the 31-year-old guy like you is better than the 23-year-old guy that's available in that way, you're getting the job the 23-year-old's not. Because when it's business and it's business first, results matter, sentiment doesn't.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
I know that it's interesting. It's a minefield for my brain, like trying to like figure it out, because there's a lot of discs spinning with what could potentially happen in 24, 25, 25, 26. There's potential for Elite League team to not be facing up the season after. If they go, do another couple of Elite League teams go? Do Planet Ice get their own way and have their own league? I mean, there's going to be all sorts of stuff. What was that like for you? Obviously, mate, we grew up in Planet Ice rinks, so like, we know
we grew up in probably the two worst ones, right?
Yeah, we know, but we also grew up in two that are still there just about. Whereas we lost the island and other Planet Ice rinks, of it's not what we want to be losing rinks. But when you were seeing everybody online going at Planet Ice, and then Planet Ice were just blocking them, and I was like, wow, like this is a mess, and everyone was shocked, and I was like, we're going to Bainstoke 6 days a week for the last 30 years. This is pretty par for the course. Is it hard not to get involved now that you're a coach? Do you need to kind of maybe take a little bit more of a back step from anything like that, or are you still quite happy to have your say?
I think it's a bit of both. I think if you're going to get involved, you probably need to tailor how you get involved. But I think it probably could have been handled better. I think
just a bit.
The biggest thing for me, Nicky, was all the stuff was online for what, 2 or 3 weeks, and instead of just coming out and saying we'll be out with a statement soon, like we'll be more transparent, we'll come out with a statement, blah blah blah. It's fine. Like people still be pissed off because they want to know everything, but I think the fact it was just radio silent for like 2 or 3 weeks. I understand there was legal stuff going on and all of that, but even just an
Yeah,
update saying we can't discuss because it's legal, etc. I think it would have just calmed a few people down, and then they came out with their statement, which probably riled people up
just a
even more. I
bit.
say probably, it definitely riled
Just
people
a
up
bit.
even more. So I think it could have probably been handled better. And I think it's obviously a great thing that Steel Dogs are still playing.
Oh, so good.
Obviously, they signed Jono, and they look like they've got a good strength team from last year
He's
as
gonna
well. And
he's gonna
I
be
think the league,
nasty.
yeah, he will. I don't think anyone's. I mean, there might be a lot of short-handed goals that he might end up scoring
Yeah,
because
for
there
sure.
won't be any lanes to get that through. But I think the league has got stronger. I think
Definitely.
there's some really good players that are in there, and I think it's spoken about all the time. Guys like Brownie and stuff like that who can play on the top line and play power play, pay penalty kill, live in Leeds with a nice life, or get offered 250 quid a week in Fife and ride the pine and do all that. Like something needs to change there. Again, I don't know the answer to it, but I think teams need to trust in those Brits because like I've played against him. Even Cole Shrew who's now gone to
Yeah,
Sheffield, like he's sick as well. Like,
yeah,
but you
nasty.
perfect power forward that could have been playing third line for the Steelers over the last 2 years. He's
Yeah,
big, strong. He hits. He's got a good shot, and it took like 2 or 3 years for him to get into that position to do it. And I think actually he could have nurtured 2 years ago at Steelers and been like a full time player there already. So
but
I think
then
it's just maybe teams' approaches,
sorry,
isn't it?
but then he only got the opportunity after Alex died.
Yeah,
Alex died, and they needed to fill another Brit spot, and they went with Cole. And I think Alex would have liked that. That was his boy. Like,
yeah,
but essentially they were still sleeping on him until then. He was back in Leeds. He was going to Leeds for another go round. I mean, I know he's essentially like brother-in-laws with Brownie. And by the way, if anybody sees their cars, get at the boys. They've had their cars nicked this week. Fucking wankers, honestly. Just brazen. They shared the
yeah.
video. Just brazen. Two guys just go on the driveway. Just that's it. We'll have both your cars.
The
See you there.
world's mad now, mate. With
Mad.
that sort of stuff, it's
Can't have anything
crazy.
nice. Just disrespectful people going after your
Yeah,
stuff. But going back to like the talent level in that national, it is definitely improving. Like you can see like the top guys are starting to become real top guys, and the addition of an extra import. I like that a lot of teams seem to go down the North American route. It's giving me like EPL vibes early doors. I'm hoping we see.
yeah.
I need someone to come in the Dwayne Newman, Nathan Rempel vibes. Give me some old tough
Old school.
Canadian. Yeah, but but what did Remps get? 107 points that year in Peterborough that you
Yeah,
boys won everything. And
yeah.
guys like that, Dwayne Newman playing 40 minutes a night.
The guy London signed yesterday, he's got quite a lot of pims. I think
Oh,
he might be old school sort of player as well. So I think it'd be good. It's entertaining, right? You need those
yeah.
sort of players back in, and I think seeing even like Brooksy and people like that last year, like sometimes when you go up against the European imports, you know they're not going to back check you too hard or slash you off a play or finish their hit if you've already made the pass. Whereas with them, you just get in for a tough night all night.
Yeah.
Especially our poor D, like when we went to Leeds, like our D would just they'd pass the puck and just get crunched a couple of seconds after, and like you're in for a tough night there.
What was it like playing against the Leeds in the final and then obviously coming out victorious? It crazy the way the goal scoring went. I don't think we did our previews. We had Glennie on, we had Mac on, but no one had that in the script the way it went.
Yeah,
Like big goal swing and then they claw it all the way back and it's super tight in the third period. You boys obviously go on to see it out, but talk us through that experience.
yeah. I think we, as a team, we had a few injuries during the season, which maybe hampered us getting a little bit closer to Leeds. We still give it a good go, but they ended up running away with it. I think the home game, it was one of them where it all clicked for us, and maybe it was their off night and stuff. And it was really bad for, I say, we could have had 9 or 10. Like the third period, we missed some chances at the end of the third where it could have been 9 or 10. And we went to Leeds, and I don't think anyone from Leeds will find it disrespectful. I say we went there without Marzi and went there with
Yeah.
Callum Hepburn, who hadn't played a national game at that point. He's a good goalie, but
Yeah.
we know how good Marzi is. And I think actually, if we'd have had Marzi, it may not have been as entertaining for the fans as probably it ended up being,
Yeah.
where it was a minute left and it could still go either way. I don't think it was great for us on the bench sort of watching and the guys that are involved. But I think from a fan's perspective, it was a hell of a series. But to manage to shut out Leeds with the offensive firepower they had, and Slava obviously tactically set us up to be able to do that. We went to Leeds, and you don't think about it. You don't think, oh, we got a 6-0 lead, we should be winning. But there is that little bit in your head, right? We're 6-0 up.
Of course,
we should be throwing this away. And then they get one, they get two, they get another, and you think this is going to be tough here. Yeah, and it just seemed to just be like the ice was tilted a little bit. It was quite loud there. They obviously get a decent crowd as well, but we managed to see it out.
I mean, if there's a team that could score 3 goals on one shift, it's Leeds. Yeah, I mean, they did it at stages last year. You go like minute 11 in, check Twitter, so Leeds 3-0 up. What? It was just face off just happened. The injury to Marzi, though, how much do you think that played a factor in your boys' like league form and stuff like that? Because obviously he missed a few games. He's very important.
Yeah, and he didn't play the playoffs either. So we had and Ryan Bainborough was injured as well. So we had 16-year-old Tyler Delabatouche, who's obviously a goalie for the future. He's a great goalie, but to stick a 16-year-old in a playoff game and stuff. And I think we went to London, we won by 2 goals. So we're 2 goals up. And then I think on aggregate, we were 3 or 4 up with about 15 minutes left and ended up losing in overtime to Romford. I think as much as people can say, oh, well, if Marzi was playing, they would have won. It's kind of like, well, we shouldn't be the experience you got on the team. You shouldn't be chucking a lead like that anyway. So that's how I sort of see it. I think had we had Marzi, obviously, Nicky, I think we would have made Coventry comfortably and we would have to do it as good as London were. I think we just found our form. We beat Leeds in the cup final. We were on a bit of a heater. But I don't think Tyler playing is the reason we didn't make Coventry. I think Gus being a bit lackluster and not keeping hold of that lead was the only reason.
Was Slava losing his fucking shit or what?
I think he was I think it was like all of us. It was kind of like, what the fuck's just happened? It's difficult because when you get to the end of and you'll know, you get to the end of the season, you lose your playoff game or you win your playoff game. Obviously, it's a bit different, but you lose your playoff game and it's it, right? There's no training. The meeting's like, cool, thanks for the season, guys. So it's kind of, you sat and reflected on it after a week or a few days and you kind of think, what the fuck happened there? It's a bit of a shit situation to be in.
Tough one to swallow when you got to you've got to do it yourself because there's no more team meetings. You've got to go back and go, well, that fucking sucks. And you can pinpoint bits throughout the year. And I notice this mainly more when I talk to the Elite League boys. But I'm like, in your league, because the league is the real big one there, and I was like, you can't lose a Wednesday night game at home to Dundee or Fife. Like, you do that in September, you might have just lost your league. Because how many times have we seen the Elite League? 1 point, half a goal difference or whatever it is. It's ridiculously close. And you can go back and go, yeah, you boys were 3-0 up going into the third period against Fife and you lost an OT. You dropped a point. That was it. And that could be November. Like you can definitely sit and self like judge the whole thing. Obviously, Slava's been known to be a great tactician, following on from his old man. What sort of things would you take away from your time playing with Slava that you might take into your coaching?
He was just,
if anything,
sorry. And obviously, I know you're not the biggest fan in the world of Slava.
I know, I fucking hate him.
I think from a coach,
I can respect him though. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. From a coaching perspective, he's the best coach I've had. I think he is so well prepared for every single team that we play, and I think when I've played before, you have a certain tactic and a way that your team plays for the whole season. You forecheck 2-3 or you'll forecheck 1-1-3 and that's it. That's how you'll play against everyone. And Slav mixed it up with every team that we were playing in certain situations. I think you'll remember the week before we played Leeds in the cup final, we got battered by them. I think it was 9-3 at home.
Yeah, it was tough.
Or 9, something mad tough. Like that. But we played a completely different style in that game to how we were going to play in the cup final.
The old Jedi mindfuck.
So I mean, obviously we didn't plan on losing 9-3, right? We were still going to win it, but I think just little things like that. I mean, he was so there was little details on videos and stuff that he spotted of how players played or opposition played and stuff. I think it's just all in the detail and all in the preparation. He's a very disciplined coach, but I think he's very good with his team as well. I think if someone needs a word or needs something to talk about, he's always been really good at that. And he's been at Peterborough a long time now, right? He's very passionate about the club and the people there as well. So yeah, I've got nothing but nice things to say about him. I think I'll lean on him when I need him as a coach as well when I'm starting my journey.
Absolutely, mate. Like, yeah, as much as my thing with Slava, that was a hockey thing that we maybe fell out on, but as like from the outside looking in and watching his teams, and what the guy knows what he's doing, man. Like, his teams are good. He coaches the right way. He brings young guys in. He gives them an opportunity. Like, you've had some young studs coming through there the last couple of years, eh?
Yeah, we have. And like guys like, so Glennie came into us, and don't get me wrong, you'll know Glennie, like he was sick, but he played in Swindon and MK, and he wasn't getting probably used as how he should do, and put up probably single figure points in a season. And Slav, it's same with like Owen Griffiths, who's a stud at Guildford now. Yeah. And like he just brings those guys in, he gives them trust and helps them build on what they can build on. And like, we know Glennie could be in the Elite League full time right now if he wanted 100%. To be, but he can work and he can play and do it that way. But I think it's the trust that Slav puts in all his young guys, like Brad Barron, again, absolutely so sick. I think if people come and watch more Peterborough games, I've never seen a player handle the puck as a D-man like he does. He
was an All-Star team. He was one of the 6 in our All-Star team last year. Like,
he'll lead the league in points this year, 100%.
I bet Norts is going to have something to say about that. If the old man still got it, it for another year, he might have something to say. But yeah, I would not be surprised, mate. I would not be surprised one bit to see, if I look in the elite prospects at the end of March, click on D and Barron's right at the top of that. Would not be surprised in the slightest. Special kid. Well. How's that for like a veteran like you, when you got these young guys coming in that can actually play? How much more confidence does it give you?
It's good as well, and I think there's 2 strands of it. It's good, obviously, you've got the trust and the faith in all of the guys around you to play a good game. But then another thing is, like, for me, I've known Brad since he was like 8 and putting skates on. I coached him on camps and stuff like that, so that's cool as well. Like, you've seen how much they've grown as a hockey player, but as a person, and people like Jarvis Hunt, who again is starting to come through and he's good. He's physical. Jasper Foster as well. It's his first year with us, but again, like, he is a physical player. Like, he can score, and like they're guys that are going to start putting points up in the next few years. And I think Slava probably put his trust in some young guys before these rules come in, and I think we were one of the teams that did do that. And Brad, Jarvis, Jasper, and those guys are ones that are good examples of that. But I think now the rules have come in, there's going to be some more studs that come out of it. But again, like we said, there's probably going to be some guys that maybe aren't, and I don't know how that's going to go for them
when they're not quite ready. Going back to like feeling a little bit old, I saw Mark Salisbury's boy Archie. He's there with the Phantoms as well, eh?
Yeah, he is. So him and my little brother are best friends. He's a year older than my little brother. And there's a picture of Clark and Co's like hockey camp, and it was like Archie and Louis when they're like 5, and then them 2 now, and like they're both going to be playing together and stuff. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, that's Archie, awesome. Seeing Archie, I remember again, he was like 4 or 5 when I met him, and now he's like a fully grown man. He could probably bench press twice what I can. Like,
really? Yeah, just stacked.
So, yeah, he is. So yeah, and he's going to be another good player that Slava's put some trust in, and he should be good as well.
So the coaching job for you, completely new, but you've got John there and Yards alongside you, so you've got some good like experience alongside you. How's that relationship going to work? What's going to be the main objective for you guys? Obviously, NIHL 2, it's not the NHL, we know that, but Peterborough, one of the better teams notoriously over the years. You would still be expected to do well in that league, and I'm imagining Slava's going to want you to be going, hey, I've got this kid for you. So, like, what's the kind of ambition for you 3 boys going in there this year?
I think you got two things. You want to win it, right? You want to win every piece of silverware, or at least compete for every bit of silverware available. And I think the team we've got, I can't see why we can't be in contention for all of those trophies. Absolutely, like there's not a reason why we can't. I think the second one is like you said, developing those young guys. We've got like my little brother Louis.
Yeah.
There's a young kid called Justin, and there's a couple of other young guys that will be pushing for spaces and working on that. So I think it's one where we're just going to try and win, but make sure that we're winning in the right way. We're not going to play two lines and beat Lee Valley by a
No.
cricket score or things like that, because that's not how we want to do it. I think what we need to do is bring in the right systems and get those kids playing the right way, because I think that's a learning curve when you get to the national. It's a lot more technical, it's a lot more tactical, and it's like, how do we try and get them to learn the systems and forechecks and the
The
discipline,
fundamental
because
team.
that
Yeah.
nurtures them into how they do it, right?
Yeah. Because it's fundamentals once you get to that next level. You know, you've got to be here for this play, you've got to be there for this play. If this guy goes there, you go here. And you need to be able to do that, as opposed to come out from juniors. It's like, yo, this kid's a stud, pass him the puck. He's gonna go he's gonna go between the blue lines, he's gonna get the deep, go to the slot, get open. I mean, the hockey changes the higher you go up. Arguably, it gets easier to play. The more, like, you hear guys that have played in the national and the elite that say it's easier to play in the elite because everyone's where they're supposed to be. And
Yeah.
if you're where you're supposed to be, you're going to get the puck when you're supposed to get it. And these things do make a difference. But I want to touch on like the league as a whole. So I've never been its biggest fan, and for good reason. I think it has a very good purpose. But I also think there's too many hangers on in that league. Like, and there's some just out and out wreck players in that league. Like, and people have added me on here before saying, how do you say that? Because over the last, I don't know, let's just use 5-6 years, for example. I popped into enough Bainstoke Buffalo games to know that there's generally, and this is normally the same for both teams, maybe some teams are a little bit better. You get your Guildfords and Haringays that are generally 3-4 lines that they're good. But generally, coming in there, you could go, there's 8 or 9 nice guys on each team. And then there's 8 or 9 guys that need to be playing fucking rec hockey. And people say, yeah, but it's good to keep them in sport. It's good to keep them in the sport. I disagree. Like, if you're a shit junior, if you're a 4th line junior, you're never going to be a hockey player. Sorry, you're not. Not from this country. There's not enough spots. That's why we have rec hockey. Don't just be giving these guys spots just because they pay 60 quid a month. That is going to hinder the league, and the young kids that you're bringing through is going to hinder them. Now, I know some people are probably going to disagree with me, and the ones that disagree with me, I guarantee you're in those 8 or 9 players, because none of the good players are going, hey, all the good players want to play against 16 good players. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Like,
I think,
you know what I mean, though?
yeah.
Like, you want to play against every line's good players. 16 men, they're all hard to beat. It makes you better.
Yeah, it does, and I think the challenge is with most of those teams, and it's the same, but it's been for Phantoms too. Until this year, is if you're available, you're in, because there's just not that many players there, right? And you'll know as well as I do, probably some of the Buffalo games they've got 10 or 11 players on the bench max, and like Solent will travel to Peterborough with like 7 guys and have to get dispensation. I think that's the challenge in NRHL too, and we're fortunate enough to be in a position this season where we've had to lose some players from last year's team because we've got some good guys coming in, but we've also got some juniors we want to develop, and I think we're in a position where we want to do it right, and we want to be able to do that and potentially build a foundation to go up. Because I think that's the end goal for us, is to go into National One, and I think that's the goal for us, to build that foundation. We've got more sponsors in this season than we've ever had. I think it's probably the strongest roster I've seen this team have as well, and it's like, how can we build the foundation to? Because I think the gap between NRHL2 and the National is too big. It is way too big, and I think it's a shock to the system when guys go from Peterborough NRHL2 to then go into National. There's not many guys that can do that, and I think that's where we need to bridge that gap. Is if we're wanting to develop players for the first team, and the gap needs to be smaller between the two leagues. So I think that's the plan, is see how we get on this season, use it as a stepping stone. But the ambition is to be in an NHL1 over the next few years to be able to do that.
That's good to hear, and it's good to hear Haringey come out and kind of nailed their colours to the wall at the start of this off season. One more year at this level, they plan to then step up into the NIHL one as well. They have the infrastructure, they have the facility, they now have glass at Ali Pali. It's fucking rammed every week. Their website, their team gets seen on the Ali Pali website hundreds of thousands of times a week. Is insane.
Yeah.
They're also being smart about it. They're going to then put a team back in the NIHL 2, which should then be a feeder team for the NIHL 1. And if we get enough good minds like yourself, Merce, and people involved with that right thinking, this is what we need to make changes, because all this samey bullshit's not getting us anywhere.
Yeah, you're right. And I think we've got like Merce. I'm good friends with Merce. I played for him in Haringey when we had that COVID Cup. It's like me, Zach Bilton, Owen Dell, like some good players there.
Yeah.
And they had a good setup then. Like they got a nice changing room. They looked after by good management, and like you said, they sell out crowds. Like they are literally sold out every week. And I think Merce is doing it right, and he's not going to rush them up. He's making sure that everything's in place to do that before going up. But I think they'll be successful at that level, 100%.
I do as well, yeah. I really do, because again, we'll go back to it, and this is no disrespect to some of the Haringey boys, but boys, when you step up, some of you will be getting your P45 at the end of this season. Like it is what it is, because the level gets better, which then better players from the NIHL. Ali Pali with glass, that's not a bad place to go play in the NIHL 1 league. Like they look after you in a pub around the corner after the game, you know. They got good sponsors on board. It's a good place to play. That might be quite an attractive proposition for maybe some of these guys that have had to step down from their NIHL because of the age or whatever. So Haringey could be a very good spot. Peterborough at that level, again, I think that's a good spot for some of you guys that are a little bit further north than us.
We've got some guys from Peterborough, Nicky, that are playing in NIHL 1 because they don't want to play in NIHL 2. And like you want all of your best local players playing at the level that they should be playing at, right? And like even like Nathan Long, who's playing at Romford, good D-man, he'd be great on our team. Like Kieran Rayner plays in Chelmsford. Like we've got players that are playing NIHL 1 but are travelling to do that. Yeah. Again, they're players that could help out the junior players that are coming through. So I think it's trying to make sure that there's talent from Peterborough that doesn't go anywhere else, because they don't need to go anywhere else.
I think it's a much more realistic expectation to think a very good 16, 17, 18-year-old could step to the NIHL 1 much easier than to the national. But
yeah,
if you can see that at 15, you can start them at 16, 17 in that NIHL 1. By the time they're 18, 19, they're probably ready to go. Look at this TJ Anderson kid. We had him play our charity game at the weekend. Kids,
sick hands,
nasty hands.
Yeah,
but then he was splitting his time between Raiders 2 and Raiders 1, NIHL 1 national. Couple of seasons doing that, and now that he's established, he's putting up points, he's scoring goals.
And like in Coventry, right? He scored twice. Twice in Coventry for Romford, and like he was in between both teams. And it's because he's been playing. The guy's probably played 60, 70 games this year with really good ice time in 35 of them and getting half decent one in the rest. Like he's gonna develop. Whereas you've got the gap between an NIHL 2 is obviously massive, and it wouldn't have benefited him. Or if he just played national on his own, again, it wouldn't have benefited him because he wouldn't have played in those situations.
Yeah. Mate, there's definite guys that go the right way about it. Obviously, we know Sean over in Romford. He's going to go about things the right way. We know Danny Myers at Ozone. There's just certain guys that are going to go around things the right way. Who else are you going to kind of like lean on or talk to, seek advice from as a new coach?
I think we've got, obviously, John's been a massive help all my life, really, through all of that sort of stuff. Yards will be great. I think Slav will lean on Slav a little bit. Stevie J, if you remember Stevie J. So beauty, I'm obviously I'm best friends with Lukey Feds, who's just signed for Phantoms. So that's obviously a massive signing for them. I think he's going to do a good job in that league. But I still see Stevie. So obviously he's a good guy to bounce his thoughts on. He was at Phantoms too a lot and knows for. I think it's finding a balance between. I've played at a professional setup for Phantoms for 12 years now, right?
Yeah.
And then you're going down to NHL2 where you're training once a week, you're playing once a week. Guys are playing for hockey and stuff. It's I think you need to be more realistic with probably your expectations. And I think that'll probably be a bit of a learning curve for me, whereas Stevie and Yards and most guys have been there and done that and know the balance of it all.
So you obviously touched on like you boys have a fairly strong team. For those that aren't familiar with kind of players at that level, do you want to kind of name drop a few of the guys that people should be maybe looking out for?
Yeah, so obviously Connor Pollard. I think he's been top scorer in that league for like 3 or 4 years. So he's obviously sick. Brad Moore played at Hull for a bit.
There, yeah.
He played at Hull for a bit. He played at Chelmsford. James White played Phantoms for 5 or 6 years before quitting for a few years, but he's come back for us. Ryan Bainborough is our goalie. So he's going to be, in my opinion, the best goalie in the league.
He's good.
He's sick as well. We signed a guy from Chelmsford called Jordan Ho as well, who's pretty good. I think obviously Louis Kinniston, young kid, Justin Dennison, some good young guys that should be able to do it. So they're your key call outs. I think that if you've got people who are wanting to watch the stats table and look at that sort of stuff, they're the names that you're going to be looking out for.
So obviously you said you got like new sponsors and stuff, more sponsors on board this year. How has that come about? Is it something like you've been actively seeking? Are people like going out and trying to grow the national 2 team? Because if you want to step up, you're going to need sponsors.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. So it was mainly an effort from a guy called Ryan Wright, who's one of my best mates. He's probably the best salesman you'll ever meet, Nicky. Yeah. He's very good at that sort of stuff, and it's been a joint effort, mainly him and me helping out. And we've just contacted different businesses, offered different exposures and that sort of stuff. And I think I think it's about 7 times the sponsorship that team normally gets. We've got this year, and we're in a really good financial position to be able to do that and make the hockey a little bit cheaper for guys and hopefully bring some fans in and stuff. And I think it's just trying to be actively able to do that. I think guys, yes, you can have an NHL2 team that pays £80 a month and does that, but no one wants to come and play for you if you're paying that much money, and then you got the travel and stuff on top of that. You want to make it affordable for guys, and you want to make them not resent coming down the rink. And I think it's just actively going out there. I think us being able to lean on Phantoms One a little bit, and obviously they get good exposure. They've got good sponsors, and we've actually taken some of their sponsors and kept them at NHL2 and NHL One. So it's a good group effort there. But yeah, I think not much had been done before. I think it was like, well, we know we're going to pay X amount a month. So any sponsor would be a bonus. If anyone comes into us and wants to sponsor, great, but we're not going to actively search it. Whereas this summer, I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to just getting on with the coaching because everything else has just been so busy. So I'm looking forward to actually just getting on with the hockey side of things. But yeah, I've still got some life left in my legs, so I'll see how long I can play for. But I don't want to stop that bit completely as well.
With the coaching side, what kind of philosophy are you going to roll with? Obviously, you're going to want to be tight at the D, but you're going to want your forwards to play with a bit of freedom. And
yeah, I think for me, my game has always been built on working hard, and I think I want our forwards to make it a pain for the other team's D to play every night, and regardless of what the score is, we'll finish our hits and we'll do that. But I think we've got some good players on our team, good forwards that can be creative and do what they want to do. I think I want our D to play with a puck a lot more, rather than you would have been to an IHL2 games with Buffalo. The amount of rims that you probably saw when rims weren't necessary is mad. So I think it's our D carrying the puck a bit more, but also joining the rush. And I think Slava does a hell of a job of that. It's getting his D to join the rush, and the amount of 4-on-3s we ended up with last year shows on our D's points tally where you got Noughts at 1 and Brad at 3. I think it shows that sort of stuff. So I think it's just work. I don't want us to change our work ethic whether we're playing a team at the bottom of the league or a team at the top of the league. And I think you can get into a bad habit there. We've all been there where you know who you're playing and you players see it as point night and that sort of stuff. And I don't want that. I think it's just all about having some discipline and just keep going. I think it's just hard work.
with the fact you only get one practice a week, how do you utilize that in the best way? Because you know what it's like, if you haven't skated till Sunday, it's now Thursday, you want to get your legs moving a bit, but also you've only got one practice. So any systems, any PP, anything like that, it's kind of all in one night. How do you go about getting all your work done in an hour?
I think probably the first 20, 25 is just going to be flow and just get the
Yeah.
legs going and do that. But I think probably the first 6 weeks is going to be so they're not going to know many structured tactics or forechecks, breakouts, etc. So I think the first 6 weeks is probably going to be 25 flow and then another 20, 25 of just learning 1-1-3, 2-3,
Yeah.
different presses and all of that sort of stuff. And I think after that, it's going to be flow and then you're 3-on-3 across ice and just quick, intense stuff that we can just make the
Yeah.
use of an hour. I think I've played NIHL2 before where you spend 10 minutes at a board going through drills. None of that. I think
No time
training
for
will
that.
get put up on a board before we go out there, and that's it. That's the only time we're going to go through it because you want to go for an hour. I think it's really important.
Yeah. Massively important, mate. It's such a limited amount of ice time to
And
improve.
it's all you can get, right?
Yeah.
Because a team like us paying, I think Planet Ice are now like 280 quid an hour, 270, something
Plus
like
that.
that. Like, yeah, exactly. Like it's a lot of money for a team like us to try and to do that. So yeah, 1 hour is all we get, and I think it'll be a challenge probably the first month or two where we're wanting to learn the systems, but we need to blow the cobwebs off and we need to get
Yeah.
our legs going and be ready. So it'll be an interesting one then, but I'm hoping we get into a routine where all the guys know the drills, all the guys know the tactics, and it can be a quicker run through to do it.
Yeah. With the Phantoms one, they've always been like quite successful when it comes to bringing fans in the door. Are you going to try and lean on them and lean on some of those guys, get them down to your games and to support the Phantoms too at the same time?
Yeah. I think we've released a season ticket where Phantoms One fans get in for a cheaper price,
Good
so
idea.
they can all do that. There's loads of other stuff that we're trying to do to entice them. I think own and loan's gone really well for us. We've auctioned off a lot of shirts, and I think if we can capture some of them on a Saturday for £5 versus paying maybe 17, 18 to go to a Phantoms away game and maybe if not more. And I think the fact we've probably got 7 or 8 ex-Phantoms ones on the team is a big plus for them to come and watch
that's
it.
huge. Yeah, that is massive, mate, because the Phantoms fans, even though I was only there for a short time, I always found them to be like good people. They love their hockey. I got on well with pretty much anyone I ever spoke to in Peterborough. In fact, what do you think they would make of the standard if they haven't seen that before? Do you think the fact that you boys do have the depth you have and some of the young guys, that'll kind of bridge the gap? So if they're going to check out a game, maybe if they saw you playing against, let's use Haringey for an example, they'd be quite impressed with what's on offer.
I'd like to hope so. I think what our aim is to make it entertaining. I don't think it's too important initially on what the other team plays like. For me, anyway, I think I want to drill our team in that regardless of who we're playing, it's entertaining. We're playing quite loose and free and that, but also we're going after every shift and finishing our hits and making sure that it is entertaining for them. But I think when you against a Guildford and a Haringey, it's a bit more tactical and a bit faster and stuff like that. I think it will be entertaining game, but I'm trying to get to the point where regardless of who we're playing, because I can't choose which game of Phantoms One fans comes to watch, right? I can push one game more than the other, but they might well come to a bottom of the league game 2 weeks into the season. And I think I'd want them to judge us on how we're playing and how we're set up rather than just how the game is.
Yeah, because we know like Lee Valley are weak and the Gosport are weak. There is weak teams in there where good teams like you guys are going to blow them out. And again, I think that's probably where the whole league falls down. And I've said this before, but then people say you need to have the teams in and there needs to be X amount of teams to play X amount of games. But like, if you've been in the league for 5 seasons and you've won 2 games and one's been against the other one and one's been against the other one, at what point are they serving any benefit other than a fixture? I know we've seen them try like cups before where Streatham played against Haringey and Romford and Chelmsford in that league. It was kind of like a London Cup. But I would always argue like the MK Thunder might be better next year. They obviously been brutal the last couple of years, so hopefully they win some games at national at one level. Nottingham Lions notoriously been brutal. They started winning some games, but it was nice to see them win some games. Lee Valley and Gosport, though, they're not winning any games. No one seems to be getting any better. Nobody seems to be going on from there. Nobody seems to be no one's like, oh, do you see the young guy Lee Valley? He's now gone to Streatham and he's tearing it up. It hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So there must be a point where we as a country just go, right, you're a rec team and you must play rec. Yeah, you guys lose 2 fixtures, but surely like you then having a friendly against fucking Haringey would be more beneficial for if development's the be all and end all, which and then realistically NIHL 2 should be. Obviously, as a player and a coach, we want to win. That's but from an EIHA perspective, development should be it. No one's developing in those games.
And our league's quite big, right? Like we've got, I think we've got 13 teams in our league this year. You got NAHL 1 that's 8. I want to say 8. It could be 9, maybe 8. Like it's obviously you've got the Haringeys that are willing to go up and have already openly said they will. You've got us who are at that point where we're looking to hopefully do it over the next few years. Will it even out then? Hopefully, but the challenge is you get rid of the Lee Valleys and the Solents and stuff. It's like, how many leagues do you have? Do you just get rid of them completely, or do you have a NIHL 3? Like the split just becomes then a challenge, doesn't it? And I don't know the answers, but I think if you can at least even out the leagues, that they're even amount of numbers. So NIHL 1 has 10 or 11. I mean, you can have the same in NIHL 2, but that's a start. So I mean, we've got Thunder in pre-season, so we're playing them as a pre-season game. And MK Lightning, so Joe Wilson, I know him really well, and he said we're going to have quite a few of the Lightning boys playing, which is great for us because I think
great for you guys.
We want a test, like we want to know how we stack up, and I think we should stack up fine.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's what we want. I think we'll be talking to a few more NIHL 2 teams this year because it's something that we haven't covered on the channel very often. But with guys like yourself and another couple of the older boys that I know getting involved and getting in the mix, obviously we've got Hallam and Petsy getting involved with the Buffalo. That's going to help them. So the league as a whole should definitely improve. So we'll give it some coverage. What's the couple of last questions there? What's the one thing you're most looking forward to about being a coach?
I think putting my own stamp on the team. I think every coach I've had is different, and I could list off every coach I've had and what their good points and their bad points are. It's just trying to hopefully have all of their good points and do that. But I think I liked people coming to me for advice as a player when I was 29, like the young kids going, oh, what do you think to this? Like, should I do this different? I'm looking forward to helping to nurture and seeing Justin, Louis and those guys featuring for Phantoms 1 and thinking I've had a role in their development to do that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Another question, this one's for you parents out there. A young Phantoms 15, 16-year-old kid's about to break up into your team. How much correspondence do you want from the parents?
None.
Right. Parents, write that down. That question was solely for your benefit. None. Especially at 16, none. They're a man now. They're going to a man's team. This is
thing. And I've said it to the team already, and it doesn't matter how old you are. You are not guaranteed ice time when you come to a team that is playing in the league, in a competitive league. And it's different in juniors. You'll pay the same fees and you have to give little Timmy ice time and stuff. But when it comes to men's, if you're not playing well or you're not showing up to training or you can't be asked, then that's where it's like, no, you're okay. That's not going to happen. And I'd like to think that all of the juniors that we've got on the team this year, I know all of their parents anyway, and they're all standoffish. They'll all be fine, and that's nice. And I think maybe we'll just let the hockey do the talking. But I know there are some nightmare parents at every club. There always is, who probably know better than a coach, and I can tell you for a fact they don't.
Yeah, they don't. They definitely don't. Well, I listened to the Rink Shrinks. I can't think of their names now. They got their original kind of shot on Chicklets. A couple of ex-players and like people message in stories about parents. Mate, it's fucking wild. It's like the Wild West. You've got like coaches, lots of coaches, referees getting like attacked by parents, and just shenanigans as the parents get way too involved. But at the senior hockey level, we can't be having that. And having guys like you in there will help develop these guys and learn things like this, that it's not acceptable. And you're about, especially if they want to use you as a hot stepping stone, definitely ain't gonna fly with you. Well, it really ain't gonna fucking fly with Slava.
Yeah.
So like, do you know what I mean? Like, if that's your goal to progress, what other hockey do you watch? Do you watch any of the elite league? Do you watch the national team? Are you kind of a hockey nerd, or are you quite happy just doing your thing around like Peterborough?
Anyone you'll speak to will tell you I'm a hockey nerd.
Yeah.
Bit of a stato, love all of that sort of stuff. So follow the national now as a fan rather than a player, but could tell you probably every team and every player that is signed. And I like the NHL, love fantasy, and doing all of that stuff. Elite League, I follow a fair bit because obviously I know Lukey Feds was in there,
Yeah.
Lewis Hook, and those guys. So I used to follow them. But I think I'll probably still have a little eye on the Elite League now anyway. Because Hookie's obviously end up in Guildford, doesn't he? So
Yeah. All right. I know it's early, but who wins the National League?
I'm torn between Swindon and Milton Keynes.
Milton Keynes look fucking good.
Yeah, Milton Keynes look good. I think it could be a challenge. He's got a lot of top guys to keep happy with.
Yeah,
only 10 PP spots and
he's gonna have a
6
juggling
top
act,
line spots and stuff. So I think that'll be a challenge. I think Swindon bringing Glennie in. I think losing Dries Kelly's obviously a tough blow for them, but I'm sure they'll replace adequately. But I think
there was a
rumor.
rumor. I'm not going to say the name. There was a rumor at the 4,000 and counting charity game of a D-man that's going in there. And if it is to be him, I'll tell you when we get off of here.
Yeah.
If it is to be him, I don't think they're going to have any problems.
Yeah, I think I know who you're on about anyway.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, if that
spoil everyone and discuss off there.
Yeah, but like if they do, it's a good addition, Swindon. So what, you don't think Leeds have got the bottle to go back to back?
I think they're a good team, but I think everyone has got better. And I'm not 100% sure that they've got better because they lost Cole.
Yeah, they have.
And they haven't re-signed Zajac yet either.
And obviously Archie is he going to be the last minute? Is he going to be the last minute.com signing?
Potentially. And obviously you got Archie Hazeldine who's now signed full time in the Elite League. I know he only played half their games, but again, you got Zajac and Hazeldine not there, Cole's not there, and they'll still be a hell of a team. But if I was to put money on it, it'd probably be between Swindon and MK.
Interesting. I haven't nailed my colours to the wall yet. I'm gonna do that in a separate video.
Yeah.
But Nathan, I really appreciate your time. This has been awesome having you on. I would like to get you back on during the season, catch up once you get your feet under the table a little bit, learn a bit more about the NIHL 2. If you're up for that.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. And thanks for having me on. Obviously good to chat.
Anytime. Right, ladies and gents, you know what to do. Hit that like button, drop a comment in the section, share, do all the usual stuff. Hit subscribe. The channel's keeping growing. We love it. We'll be back with another episode very, very soon. For now, peace.